So you ended up having a couple albums and, you were on the news for it. You made, headlines for the fact that you were the first artist that collaborated with AI, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And how was that? Was it playing on the radio? Like, could we, I've heard some of the songs, and they are really good. You made videos for them, whatever.
I
So
did.
what was the response from people listening to it?
I mean, this was back in 2017 when I released the first track, Break Free, and that track ended up getting radio play, probably
Mhm.
more because people were just intrigued and disc jockeys were like, how do we feel about this whole AI music thing? But this was, several years before the kind of AI boom that we've seen
Right.
reach public consciousness. So I think people didn't really know how to think about it and also what it meant to collaborate with AI. It takes a little bit of sort of talking through it for people to understand what that actually means.
Right.
So the response was very interesting. I think for the most part people were curious and engaged, but also very concerned about what this meant for the future of music. And that was part of the reason that I dove into the project. I love experimenting with new technologies in part because it is a space where there are no rules. You're figuring everything out as you go. There's no handbook on how to do it. And the end result is that it poses a lot of interesting questions that we need to
Right.
be asking ourselves as
Yeah.
creative society. So
Right.
I'm openly participating in those exact same questions.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So, it's so funny. I think we think of AI as something that has to do with sci-fi movies or robots or things that are like not attainable. There are things that aren't real. And but it's become, apparent that AI is much more relatable, it's much more mundane, and it is happening. It is at the forefront and it is here. And we have to figure out if it's good or bad, and somewhere in there you got more involved in it, right, as more of a filmmaker, and you created a documentary called I Am Human, which by the way is fascinating. And I'll tell you a funny story before you get into what it is. My producer Allison is part of like a writing group, and just 2 days ago, this is no joke, one of the writers came in and was pitching her screenplay about something that was sort of similar, where somebody had something implanted in their brain and they were a different person and blah blah blah. And people in the group started being like, I don't know, that's kind of unrealistic, I don't think anyone's going to get it. And Allison's like, wait, we have someone coming on our show, it's real, this is really happening. And everyone was like, see, the people that were pitching it were like, see, it's not so far-fetched. But like, to the lay person that's not in the world, that you now have, have been working in, and that you've seen, we don't really get where this is going and how far this has already come. And so I really want to talk about it. So tell us about your documentary, how you got into it, and we're going to talk about like what is on the forefront for AI.
Yes, first of all, that's amazing. And that's exactly why I made the documentary, because anytime I would talk to people at large about neurotech, they would just be like, there's no way that that's actually real. Or
Right.
they would think it's many, many years down the road. And even now in 2020, four, almost in 2023. I think a lot of people still assume that these things are 5, 10, 15 years out. Elon Musk started Neuralink, and that's gotten a lot of attention by way of his megaphone. But I think, they're still in earlier trials. So the general public doesn't realize that there are actual humans that have been implanted with these devices for the past 20 years.
Right.
Really.
Right.
So the film followed three patients, one uh, who was blind, one with paralysis, and oh my gosh, and one with Parkinson's.
Right.
We actually followed five, but three ended up making the cut. And their journeys getting these implantable devices, brain computer interfaces is the formal name that the device is referred to as. And
Mhm.
essentially, these devices use artificial intelligence to decode neural activity. And then with that neural activity, you can perform all kinds of different functions. You can connect a brain to a computer. You can then use, the BCI to mobilize like a robotic arm
Mhm.
or to restore function in someone who's lost movement, to restore sensation. they're remarkable. They're absolutely remarkable devices.